In staying with my turning on the cheap turn talk, this is pine pallet wood. I'm going to glue it up. I'm going to make joiner cuts on my table saw. I've got a good blade. So I'm going to trim this up. I'm going to glue it up into a board. It's just pine from a pallet. So I'll glue it up. And we'll come back and we'll turn a platter out of this. See that edge? Nice. Joinable. Alright, so now let's get these over to the workbench and glue them up. And before we put too much pressure on those, we don't want them popping out of the clamps. Now we wait. These will be dry enough tomorrow. Okay, I've got these out of the clamps. I've got circles drawn on them for how big I'm going to make them. And I'll take these to the bandsaw and cut them off. So I've got these 3 pieces of pallet wood glued up into a board, and I cut a circle on the bandsaw. So now let's put it on the lathe and make a platter out of it. If you watched my platter demo, you saw how I did this. I'm just going to drive it with this chuck. Center mark. We'll clean up what we can with a scraper and probably start at 80 grit. Alright, that's the shape I want. That's not bad, actually. I've got a little bit of tear out in places. And I've got a nice sweep right here, no ridges. Like I said, I'm going to start at 80. So we're going to sand in reverse again, starting with 80. Now again, that was to 320. Now if you watched my Turn Talk video the other day on decisions, I'm at that point where I have a decision to make, and that decision is, how do I want to treat this pine? I could leave it like this and finish it, but I don't think I want to. I mean, it's pretty just like it is, and you can barely tell there's a seam here. The grain does switch a little here, so you can see that seam, but this one doesn't show up real well unless you look for it. So that's just part of how you can do things when you're gluing pieces together. So now I have to figure out, do I want to dye this? Do I want to stain it? I'm going to take a picture of this and I'm going to post it on my community tab on my YouTube channel and create a poll. Stain, dye, or leave. Whatever the bulk of my viewers tell me is what I'm going to do to it. I'm only going to do that to the front. The back I'm going to leave natural. Rather than going all one color on this, I think I'm going to get a little crazy with it. I'm going to start out with some tangerine. This is just red dye like I use all the time. I'm just going to blotch it on in places. Almost looks red, don't it? Now, I could put this in my airbrush and do it that way, and that would give it a different effect too, but not everybody has an airbrush, so I'm going to do it this way. I'm going all around with the yellow here. I'm going to try to blend some of this too. You know, so I'm going with the grain to blend some of that out. Gives it kind of a random effect. I'm happy with that. I'm just doing stuff. I mean, just use your imagination. This isn't rocket science after all. So first I'm going to use a little bit of emerald. I'm going to take my same yellow cloth and I'm just going to blend it. Now I'll take the darker. I'll do it again. Now I'll take a little bit of this. Now, because there's water not only in the stain, there's a little water in denatured alcohol as well. This is raising the grain. So I'm going to let this dry for quite a while, probably overnight, and then I'll knock it back with, where that grain's raised, I'll knock it back with 320, maybe 400, and then again hit it with lightly with some 600. That gives it kind of an interesting look, I think. What do you think? I'm just playing around. So let's let that sit and we'll come back and sand it up and we'll finish turning and put a finish on it. I turned a bead on here, but I'm second guessing myself. I don't really want that small. I'm going to come out here a little bit and make that opening just a little bit bigger, just because I've been making everything small. I'm going to come out about right here. Again, that's about 2/3. This is about 1/3, so about right there. Give myself a mark. And I really don't think I want to make it much more shallow than that. It has moved on me a little bit. I'm not getting a real clean definition on my edge, but I can fix that too. I'm at about 1/8 of an inch right there. I wish I had cut my bead out here is what I wish. Okay, I need some kind of defining mark right there. So I'm going to burn me a line. Use my homemade point tool, that biggest screwdriver they had at Lowe's. This is a number 3x6, and I just ground it down. It makes a great point tool. Burn me a mark. Your eyes will lie to you when you're looking at these things, but your fingers will never. You can feel what you can't see. Okay, I'll get my dust collector on. We'll sand this to 400. I'll try something a little bit different. It may not work, but it might. Oh man, I screwed that up.
Why, yes.
I have now utterly ruined this platter.
Yes, you did.
Can't be any worse.
Oh, yes, it can.
See, that would look too bad if I hadn't screwed it up. It was too deep to sand out.
I've got an idea. Let's just make the whole inside blue.
Well, like I said a while ago, you gotta screw it up, screw it up.
Oh, don't worry. You've done a fine job of that already. I think I'm gonna lose my lunch.
I don't like this at all. In fact, I hate it. If I can't get this to come out like I want it, get rid of this blue crap in the middle, this is going to Burt in.
So what do I do when a piece gives me trouble and I don't want it to leave my shop because it's not doing what I want? I prepare it for the burn pit. Simple as that.
Lucky enough for this platter, it's still warped, but it's not bad. So, but it's a little dark in here for my liking, and I'm not real happy with that blue up there either. I'm gonna try to sand this back some. Okay, that's 320. That is good enough for the inside. Okay, I'm happy with it again-ish. I still got to do the bottom, but I will do that after I put the finish on the top. I'm going to, this is drying out now. As usual, my go-to finish for when I want things glossy, and because it's got color, I want it glossy, is Gloss Deft Spray Lacquer. I'm going to apply a coat, and then 30 minutes later, I'll apply another coat, etc., until I get enough on the front that I'm happy with it. After it cures a good 24 hours, I will take it to the lathe and we'll finish the back. This is not the way to spray, but I want to get all this lacquer out of here. I don't want to waste any of it. Next king, I go through this stuff like toothpaste. Now I'll set my timer, 30 minutes, and I will keep putting this on the front until I'm happy with how it looks overall. It's time to finish this bottom up and get it sanded back again because it's a little rough and I'm using my vacuum chuck, so it's going to be a little noisy. That ought to do. Now we'll sand the inside. Now we can spray the finish on the back.
Look at that shine. Ain't that pretty? Okay, now let's take it over to the finishing table and spray it back. Spray a couple of coats of finish on the bottom, and this baby will be done. I don't know if y'all can see the chatoyance in this pine, but it's there. Don't let people tell you pine don't have chatoyance in the figure, because it can be really pretty. The light's changing around this knot like crazy, and it'll get even better the more coats of finish we get on. So I'm gonna let this coat dry a half hour. I'll come back, do the same thing every 30 minutes until I'm happy with the result. So here it is. Platter from a pallet. You don't have to have expensive wood to turn a pretty piece. I just showed you another way of embellishing that you can use inexpensive dyes and still come out with a really nice product. All in all, I'm really happy with it. Now, even better is you don't have to have exotic woods to get chatoyance in a piece either. Let me see if I can. There it is. Look at the light shift in the grain around that knot. That is chatoyance. And you can see it here in this piece too, up here. Right there. Watch that. Watch the shift. That is chatoyance from pine. Pretty cool, huh?